Welcome to TDS Online Math. Now in today's tutorials, we are going to look at one of the important topics in mathematics, that is circle theorems. Okay, so this topic, so far as core mathematics is concerned, is very important. Okay, now let's consider this circle. Okay, now we have the important part, that is the center here. Now the center is very important for circle. Once we know the center, we can locate our radius. Now from the circumference here to the center, so we have radius. Okay, so we can have another radius here, can have one here, can have one there also. So that's the radius. Okay, now knowing the radius, can also talk about the diameter. So diameter, so that is the sum of the two radii. Now let's call the side x, o, y. So we know line xo is radius and line yo or oy is also radius. So radius, that is the diameter. So diameter is the sum of the two radii. So the same as twice of r. So it means to find radius, you can divide diameter by 2. And to find diameter in your given radius, you can multiply it by 2. All right, that's that. Now let's talk about a chord. Okay, so x, y. Okay, now a chord is a straight line joining any 2 points on the circumference, but does not pass through the center of the circle. Okay, so we can have a chord here. So let's call this side mn. Can have a chord here. Okay, and what have you? That's a chord. Now that we know what is meant by a chord, let's talk about segment. Okay, so we have segment. Once we know a chord, we can find a segment. So if this side is a chord, so that would be the segment. Okay, as simple as that. All right. Okay, now let's talk about a tangent. If a line touches a circle at only one point, like this, it's called a tangent. So we have a tangent line. We can have a tangent here. So if a line touches a circle at only one point, it's called a tangent. Sorry, that's that. Now let's talk about a secant. Now with a secant, it touches a circle more than one point. So we have this. Okay, so we can have a secant here. Now let's notice this, a secant and a chord, the difference. Okay, so this one is a chord and this one is a secant. So this one crosses the circle, this one it doesn't. So it doesn't cross the circle. So this one is a chord and this one is a secant. Very important. All right, so that's that. Now knowing the parts of circle will help us understand the theorems very well. Okay, so let's look at the first property here. So the first property talks about the angle at the center. Okay, the angle which an arc or a chord subtends at the center is twice the angle the same chord or arc subtends at any point on the remaining part of the circumference. So angle which an arc, so have an arc here, okay, there's an arc this way, okay, so the angle that this arc subtend, okay, at the center here, the angle here, okay, so it's twice the angle the same chord, okay, subtend at any point on the remaining part of the circumference. So it means that when this side is x, this side is 2x. That's the first property. Okay, so let's call this side M N O P. Okay, so it means angle M, okay, angle M O N is twice of angle M P N. Okay, that's the idea. It means that when I divide both sides by 2, it will be half of angle MON will be the same as angle MPN. So when you divide this side by 2, to give you this side. Okay. All right. So that is the first property I will talk about. Now I use arc here. Now tomorrow can be a chord like this. Okay. Chord. So we know what is meant by chord. So the angle which an arc or a chord subtend the center is twice that of circumference. Okay, so that's that. Now we can have so many scenarios here. Okay, you can have so many examples. Okay, so if this side is 30, this side will be 2 times 30, that will be 60. That's the idea. Okay, all right. Now they can also form the same angle like this, so something like this. Okay, so you can form it like this. So this one, same thing. So if this side is X O N P, okay, angle, okay, angle X O N is 2 times angle XPN. So same thing. So having changed anything, I just push it from here. And don't forget that it can happen at any part of the circumference. So note that. All right, so we can also form one here. Okay, so let's call this side K. So same thing, angle XON, that is this side. Okay, so it's same as twice of angle XKN. So that's that. So if this side is 30 and this side is 40, okay, so with this side will be 2 times 40 and this side 2 times 30. That is the idea. Okay, so that's the first property. All right, now let's talk about the second property. So the second property talks about angle in opposite segment. Okay, angles in opposite segment, they add up to 180 degrees. So now that is how it behaves. So opposite segment, that's the first one. Another segment. So TP. Okay, so let's call this side X, and let's call this side Y. So per this property, so we have the first segment A, and then we have another one AB. So we have opposite segments. So the sum of the angles here will be 180. X plus Y equals 180. All right, that's that. So you can have so many examples. All right, now let's go ahead with the next property.